So, Tom, what did you think of this week's episode of Let's Tease one of the greatest Star Wars villains ever and then not have him show up?
I think this is an issue the show has, is all this fan theory and fan crafting and theorizing. Was it too much for the show to handle? Is there a disconnect between the makers of the show and the fan base, in the sense that you get all these fans being like, oh, is this going to happen or is that going to happen? Because they're teasing it. It feels like they're teasing it. And then they don't, and they deliver a finale. But I think the hype we had going in with the expectations that we had was perhaps too much.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I am not happy that he didn't show up. The way they'd sort of set it up in the previous episode was that we were at least going to see him. My overall impressions are I'm really mixed on it. I think as an episode, it's the ending that you think you want, but it's the ending that you know you shouldn't have. If that makes sense.
It's the ending I didn't want.
Just didn't want, period.
Well, if I look at it this way, it just feels like a best of season 1 and season 2 finale.
Oh, I see. That's in my notes. I actually had the exact same thoughts.
Like, if we read through it, we have to confront Gideon again.
Yeah.
Me. So you have to confront Gideon again. You're up against the odds with the Empire about to kick your ass, but suddenly you get a win out of a bag.
Yeah.
And then the whole deflecting flames, I'm sure Grogu did that in season 1 finales with the flamethrower dude. They just got a bigger flamethrower this time.
Yeah.
It just felt like we retread the same steps, and
Yeah.
it wasn't very entertaining. I thought, we're not going to do this again. They're going to go for a darker turn, or they're going to shift gears, but it was ultimately a very happy, pleasant ending.
Yeah, it wrapped things up. Yeah, it wrapped things up for me. Like, if this was like this is one of my thoughts, is that if this was the end, we're never gonna see these guys again, I'd be kind of content with that. Because it's nice and it's wholesome. It brings that nice little wholesome finality to the story. Again, it's like I say, it's the ending that you think you want. It's the nice happy ending. But I know that this has got to be disturbed. This piece that you get at the end, it's got to be disturbed. I tell you what it reminded me of, Tom. You know, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the end of The Return of the King, with how it sort of played out. It's like it just has such a sense of finality to it.
Hey.
But I know, because we know that Ahsoka show's coming, and we know that there's this Mandoverse film coming, that this is all just going to get uprooted anyway. So what was the point in settling everything down and wrapping things up? Because that is what it felt to me.
I think this is where I'm going to tangent off onto something else. I view Star Wars as almost like a build your own Star Wars at this point. So if you don't like the sequel trilogy, cool. You love the Legends books, that's your Star Wars canon, man. Like, you can pick and choose your own canon at this point and be content. So for you, you might be like, I'm not going to watch Ahsoka, but I love the ending of The Mandalorian. That's how it ends for me. He could go die in some other show, but you'll be like, nope, don't care. Like my Mandalorian ended on season 3. He's on the farm with Grogu, and they're happy.
Exactly.
Like, Star Wars has got such a convoluted and contrived canon these days, but I can't honestly keep up with what is canon and what isn't. There's stories that they've retconned that I think I actually prefer them to what we've been given.
Well, what they're starting to do is they're starting to pull Legends material into the new canon. Like with Thrawn being, canonized, and Pelion and stuff. They're trying to pull it in, but I don't have faith that they know what they're doing with that material. Like, I know at some point we're going to get an Old Republic movie, and they're going to have a bash at doing Revan, and they'll probably have a shot at doing Darth Plagueis as well. Maybe even Darth Bane. it's gonna confuse people, I think, and I think it's just gonna be a crappier imitation. In my personal opinion, it's not gonna land the same way.
Plagueis, they would do wise to stay away from, purely because you'd have to figure out the Sidious actor.
Yeah.
Because is it Ian McDermott? I'm probably butchering that name. He's so iconic in that role. And I feel sorry for the dude who played Palpatine in Episode 5, who's just been erased.
Yeah, we could say it's wise for them to steer clear, but if we remember, there's also another iconic character who got recast.
But that's why they have sort of steered away from it. That's what they say on why they've steered away from it. But with Darth Bane, I would be content if they went in that direction, because that's 1,000 years or so before anything we've done. So go explore.
But here's the thing, Tom. Right, you've seen what they did with The Mandalorian, and you've seen the tone it's taken. If you're gonna have a shot at Darth Bane and you want to pull it off, you have to go dark. It is not a story that can have any kind of skippy, upbeat tone to it. Similar to like the Book of Boba Fett should have been quite dark and gritty. You can't do that with like Darth Bane, and I feel like they would try to do that.
Just keep Jon Favreau away from it, and Filoni. Simple.
Well, yeah, because they have anything to do with Andor? They didn't have anything at all.
No, they were nowhere near that show.
Yeah. Well, then you make a good point. If you get the people who did Andor to have a bosh at it, they probably do pretty well.
I wouldn't even say the Andor guys for it. Something, because we haven't seen how the writers of Andor would handle the Force, how they would utilize it. They're very good at handling human drama and, the social politics of it all. They're really good at handling that. But that's not really a factor in Darth Bane. Darth Bane, it's more about him growing, asserting power. How would he do that? I can't think off the top of my head who would be suitable to do that.
I mean, Darth Bane is a bit of a drama. Like, it's been a while since I read the books, but it's all about his personal struggle with the Sith he's been given, and then he hears about the Sith of old and how they were, and he sort of realizes that both ways are wrong, and it's very much like a struggle within himself to come up with a new ideology that works and that can take down the Jedi. And like his line is the line that finally takes down the Jedi. Traya came close, but just about missed. And then he's the one. It's his line that actually does it. Well, technically, for 20 years at least. I was gonna say he wins, but he does it because Sidious ends up getting lobbed down the shaft. But but yeah. Anyway, we've tangented a bit here, Tom.
I love
so
that.
Overall impressions.
1,000 years of planning for 20 years of winning. Just overall impressions it wasn't for me, but it seems to have been for other people.
Yeah, I'm mixed.
If you like explosions, this is the episode for you. If you want a bit more, then yeah. Well,
we'll get onto that when we talk about things we don't like. But I'm very mixed. I believe it's a nice episode and it's a nice ending, but there are things missing. It's not compelling, and that bothers me. It doesn't feel wholly earned like it should be. So what did you like about the episode then, Tom?
I just want to give a shout out to Bomo. This isn't going to be the episode for you, bro. Because Bomo likes positive thoughts or conversations, and I'm really racking my brain about this episode. And the VFX, okay, forget that. VFX of this episode were fantastic. Like, no bones about it. The music was fun. In terms of production, I will say congrats. In terms of writing, directing, no, it's problematic for me. I didn't like much in this episode at all. Like, there might be little highlights, but I just want to get to things I didn't like because there's just so much wrong in this episode.
Okay. Okay, I'll say what I liked. I liked Grogu in this episode. I liked to see like his agency. I quite liked that. It's nice to see him being a character again. I liked the scene with the mouse droids. I thought that was funny. And I also liked seeing Din actually be a bit more of a badass in this episode. He's definitely not a donkey in this episode. He's definitely a skilled Mandalorian. I really like the score. The score gave me like original trilogy vibes, and I also think the show that like this episode, it kind of had a little bit of a Rogue One feel, not in the tone, but in the way it was shot. I can't explain it, but it you know, like with the battle going on.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me a little bit of Rogue One. I like with the VFX. I love the way the TIE interceptors are animated in this show. It's like you can actually see why they're more dangerous because they're obviously like faster and more nimble than a TIE fighter, but you can also just see how fragile they are, and it's like no wonder that like because I remember from the old lore that like TIE fighter pilots, you know, that they flew like 3 or 4 missions and they were dead. Like their odds of dying were like really high. And then like with interceptor pilots, it was like no 1 or 2 and you die. You know, like you had a 100% more chance of dying, and you can see that with the way they're animated. It's like they're nimble and fast, but they are fragile. They fall to pieces.
I was gonna say, what I would say, I did enjoy the Mandalorian battles this time, like them fighting with the jetpacks in the air.
Yeah. You actually got to see them leveraging because you complained about that in the other episode. You actually got to see them leveraging the mobility that a jetpack offers.
It was like a dogfight, but just this time of, you know, jetpacks instead of spaceships. And they actually showed what was unique about them and utilized their special abilities, and they can fly or they can get close. And it was just a nice differentiating action beat, because we don't usually see jetpack fights in Star Wars.
A little bit silly. Like when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is a bit cheesy," but for the moment, it's a nice rule of cool moment that I think you can kind of let slide. Just for the spectacle of it. That's all really I'll say about liking it then. The other thing I liked was, and you're gonna say you hate this, but I like the fact that they at least thought about it, was with this, now that we got a better look at these stormtroopers with the jetpacks, you sort of saw some of the First Order aesthetic. Now, I'm not saying I like that because it's acknowledging the sequel trilogy. I like the fact that they paid attention and they fought to put that detail in there.
So,
like, you could sort of see the outfit sort of looking a little bit more First Order-y. So, like, sort of showing the Imperial technology progressing.
I would have to have a look at them again. This is the problem. The First Order stormtroopers, they just look like the normal stormtroopers, except the mask changed a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, because the masks change all the time throughout the different eras. You're like, okay, mask change. I wasn't sure if that was just specific to Gideon though.
Yeah.
Because again, they just say things and you're unsure if this is specific to Gideon or not. Like, if we see Thrawn's Empire in Ahsoka, are they just going to look like normal stormtroopers again, and you're back to, oh, okay, so it was just Gideon had special troopers.
Maybe, potentially.
I will say I did like the ending shots for the show, like Din and Grogu. Jaren and Grogu. Because Din's the family name, right?
Yeah.
So, Jaren and Grogu just chilling at a farm. Like, that would be an ideal ending to end their arc. Like, that'd be a nice ending.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's how this feels to me. This is why I don't want Ahsoka and I don't want the Mandoverse film. I just leave them on that farm. Yeah, or a season 4. Just leave them on that farm. It's lovely. It's a nice, wholesome ending. Leave it. If you're gonna be cheesy and you're gonna have this ending that wraps everything up. Leave it wrapped up. And I think that's what I hate the most. That's the thing I hate the most about this episode, is that I know it's gonna get disturbed for the sake of more content. All right, Tom. Let's because I feel like you've got a lot to say on this. What didn't you like about the episode?
It feels like the writers were just pulling things out their ass. I'm just gonna say it how it is. R5 just popping up, Grogu just appearing. As soon as Grogu saved Mando, I was like, this is how we're gonna do the finale, isn't it? Things are just gonna happen for the sake of happening.
Yeah.
And I just think badly done, because there's no way you're thinking, oh, Grogu's just gonna pop up and save him. Because last week, Grogu and the Mandos are running in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah, I mean, you really like last week's episode was. I'm looking on it more favorably now, but really, I really thought they were setting it up to off Mando, because his contract's ended. So I was like, they're gonna have some balls here. They are gonna, because they offed Vizsla. So I was like, right, they're showing us that they're willing to kill characters now. So they're gonna kill Din.
Just think of it this way: if they hadn't have offed Vizsla, there'd have been no deaths.
Yeah, that's part of the things I don't like. There's no sacrifice.
Vizsla just felt like, yeah, we're just gonna chuck him in now. He didn't even need to die.
Nope.
They probably could have staged that better in hindsight, especially when these fuckers in their jetpacks. Our jetpack's out of fuel. Well, this guy can fly all the way from here to outer space.
Yeah.
I saw that and I thought, no fucking way.
Yeah,
like
it's fine if you don't establish that these things have a finite fuel supply and they run out fairly quickly.
He fucking flew from the planet all the way up. And I was thinking, he's just gonna get above the clouds to radio, right? Like, I can buy that. And it's like, nope, he's still got he's flying into space and he's going to land on the ship.
Yeah.
I just thought,
silly.
Fuck off. We just say things work like this now. That's just how it happens. We need to get this person here. He's gonna fly into outer space. Okay. Okie dokie. And that just felt like, just what the fuck is going on? Because Gideon, he's tracking Mando on a map. He can see where Mando's going. And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to head him off, right? It's like, nope, I'm going to exit through the back door and wait for him to come here. And he's going to go trash everything on his way. And I'm just thinking, why?
That's in my notes about, like, Gideon. He really, really, like, last week, I said he felt like a bit like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, like super goofy. This week, this episode, so cheesy and so, like, any depth that he might have had is gone. It's like, no, he's just a crazy, egotistical, maniacal, like, laughing, cartoonish villain. There's like, there's no substance to him. He even, like, his motivations, like he wanted to clone himself so that his clones had the Force. And I don't know, it just, when Gideon first arrived on the scene, I always saw him as, like, he was really dedicated, he had a purpose, and he was ruthless and logical. And these last two episodes have just stripped that away. He's just a fanatical, cackling cartoon villain to me now.
This was the thing. Gideon shows up and he knows all about you. Like, he's showing up and he's done his homework. He knows exactly who's in the room. He knows what fucking underwear you put on that day because he's done his research.
And that's what makes him scary, not stupid armor and, like, missiles and Praetorian guards and bloody... all of that. That's not what makes him scary. What makes him scary is that he knows you better than you know yourself. He's like you made a really good point a couple of episodes ago. He's like Thrawn light.
Yeah, he just lost his edge this time. And what's even stupid? Okay, this is where I think people should watch this episode purely from a point of Gideon. If you watch all of Gideon's scenes together, his scene is Mandalorian's escaped. He's got Grogu with him. I can see him on a map. I'm gonna back out the back door though. And then I'm going to put on my mask and helmet, be like, I'm a badass, put on my helmet. Next time we see Gideon, he's giving a speech and Mando just shoots at him and Gideon's like, I've got to put my helmet back on. I'm just thinking, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, it wasn't well thought out.
We're putting the helmet on to look cool, to have a moment. And then the next scene's like, he's got it back off again to put it back on. And I'm thinking, your plan, it's like saying, I'm not going to let you destroy my base, but I'm going to wait outside of it and let you come to me. I was like, wait, what? It's just stupid. Like, you can see him on the map and you're saying, I'm going to go deal with it. But he goes the opposite way. Like, if he went towards Mando and he had a fight with him near the Red Hall and they end up trashing the cloning labs, cool. Like, you could see Grogu fighting the Praetorian guards and the cloning labs, and they're trying to get to Grogu, but he's just dodging them, and they're just trashing the labs by accident because he's so nimble.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It takes just a second more forethought to think of something like that as well.
There's so many things they could do. So I like that they acknowledged that there's growth on Mandalore with the farms and the greenery. Yes, that was a complaint last week, how these guys could have survived. However, if they showed that scene in a previous episode, we could have had them talking on Mandalore instead of that random ship. They could have been talking on Mandalore in this film and be like, yo, it exists? Like, wow, this is everything we could hope for. And they get to the forges and it's like, wait, no, this is the Empire again? Like, it just shows that there's a deeper rot in the core. Like, you've got this beauty on the outside of them, there's this rotten empire sitting inside of it. And it just answers your questions, and they can still have the stuff on the ship, but it shows like, oh, this is a different element for them. And it just felt a bit random. Like, the structure of the episode just feels so random because people are running away, breathing, running away again, flying backwards. It's like just zipping backwards and forwards. Just a bit more structure to make things more logical. People might be like, it's Star Wars, it's made up and stuff like this. Yeah, I get that, but there's not insulting your viewer.
Yeah, no, there is. You still have to have some semblance of logic.
It just feels sloppy.
Yeah, it is. It does. It felt really contrived to me and very much extremely pandering to children, and I mean, like, in the like Jar Jar panders to children, that sort of sense, not in a good way. Like, it's like treating kids like they're dumb.
Yeah, and then R5 popping up. I've got to rewatch last week's episode because I instantly thought, where the f*** did this guy come from?
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I was like, oh, I didn't realize he was knocking about.
And then, speaking of people just disappearing and reappearing, the armorer last episode was, I'm going to take the wounded back. I'm coming straight back. It's like, oh, so there's nothing more to that. Like, why did she need to go back? Like,
yeah, I have no clue. To be badass. That's why she went back.
I guess, did they do it just for her one line of saying, like, bo-katan Kryze, your reinforcements have arrived?
Yeah. Well, they needed to keep all the good actors' lines. There's one thing I have on my dislikes, and I don't know if you noticed it, but one of those Imperial Mando troopers speaks to Gideon, and I don't know who is doing the acting, but it is so droll and monotone, and he sounds a little bit tapped in the head. I don't know if you picked up on it or noticed it, but it's so funny to listen to because it's honestly, it sounds like someone cosplaying with his kids in his backyard. It's so bad. Yeah, there's that. One thing I don't like, Tom, and I don't know if you feel this way, is this episode so the previous episode set us up that this is the Mandalorians fighting for their very survival, and in this episode it's like it genuinely felt like there was no struggle, no one died, and I think for this kind of story to have weight, you kind of need some death.
Hey.
You need some sacrifice. Like, don't get me wrong. I actually, there's half of my brain that really likes, you know, the guy, I can't remember his name, but he reminds me of Kandor Sordo a little bit. The guy who flies the cruiser down and crashes it into the planet.
Yeah.
Now, one half of my brain is like, yeah, he's not doing a stupid Admiral Holdo. He can just leave the ship. He can get out, you know,
Yeah.
set it on autopilot and fly out. That's cool. But it kind of robbed the battle of sacrifice. Same with bo-katan. She survives. I don't think you see any named or recognizable characters bite the bullet, and it just robs the victory of weight because nothing was sacrificed. The Mandalorians didn't fight for their survival. They just walked all over their enemy.
The enemy just disappears.
Yeah. All like Gideon set a trap, and that's the thing that really annoys me. It's like the Mandalorians fell into that trap. There should be some consequences to falling into a trap. You know.
But not. They just fly away. It
disappears. Yeah, it disappears. Like this trap just disappears. The Mandalorians rally. It takes them literally, like at the start of the episode, they are rallied and they're ready to fight back.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, show me some death. You don't have to, like, doesn't have to be Game of Thrones. We don't have to be, you know, decapitating Grogu and putting his head on Din's headless corpse. You know, we don't need that. But we need something. We need some grit in this show.
Speaking of Mando, we need to figure out how this guy can be hurt, because apparently it's only been strangled. Because he has gaps in his armor, like, there is gaps in the plating, but he can survive being, like, flame grilled. He can survive being shot, like, at point blank range, because they just seem to hit plating.
Yeah. I kind of understand it, because obviously he's like, his Beskar's supposed to be like pure, isn't it? Like he's got super pure. But then again with the flamethrower thing, I'm pretty sure like in the season 1 he got like hit by an explosion and like really hurt. Like didn't IG have to like administer like first aid, and he had to take his helmet off?
Yeah.
And it was like a big deal made about it. So I don't know. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Like. It's rule like that. I think that would be the word of, well, the phrase of the episode. This episode was completely rule of cool. It looks cool to be throwing flames at each other. Well, there's no like thought to the actual consequence.
I can just never gauge how good he's supposed to be, because this episode he was almost John Wick.
Yeah. That's the Mando that I always liked. Like, we had this in season 1, like that sort of Mando. He broke into the Imperial Remnant's base, didn't he? That had Grogu, and he just bodied everyone. He took down the entire base and all the stormtroopers in it. And then in this season he's kind of been up and down. One minute he's like you say, one minute he's John Wick, and the next minute he's just a donkey kicking and flailing.
What I didn't like was, so as you said, they gave Grogu more agency. I thought they actually took away from him. So Grogu has just saved Mando, correct? He's shown he's capable of punching a guy, doing some work. Now, how much better would that scene have been where Mando is going through the red laser beams of death and Grogu's there helping him out, just grabbing guys, instead of just hiding around the corner, because Mando makes it sound like, oh, we've got to go do this together, kid. And then Grogu just stands around the corner, just, pick up the laser cannon or the stun staff and help, or, grab the shield and protect Mando, and Mando can pop up from behind the cover. Like incorporate him a bit more.
Yeah, for me that whole scene was ridiculous. Like, this is in my notes. It was like a video game level. That's what it felt like.
And R5's like lowering the laser beams. I just thought, why don't the Empire dudes just lower the laser beams and go dunk on Mando? Like, there's 10 of you. If all 10 of you just pick him up by the arms and legs and throw him down the chasm, job done.
Yeah, It genuinely, it was like a video game. It's like what you see in video games where you fight wave 1 and then you've got to fight wave 2.
Yeah.
It felt really silly. I didn't like that bit. That is in my notes. Just like firmly did not like. I did not like the video game mechanics style fights
Then
that we were sort of seeing.
you had the Praetorian Guards fighting Grogu, and it's like, oh, they dismantled IG-12 pretty fast. Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
I was like, God, that was such a cool, like, that was a cool idea, and it feels like they've binned it already.
Yeah.
Like, that was perhaps their best idea this season, was giving Grogu the IG-12 body.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll reincorporate it when he returns. If they don't, I just think, okay.
Well, they can't reincorporate it, pal, because the ending.
You can always get another droid.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant specifically with like IG-11.
Oh no, like, that was just some other droid they found, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Think.
IG units are just lying around these days. How lethal IG-11 was, or the nurse droid was in Mando Season 1. I'm just astounded anyone has body parts of these things.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be, because they were like illegal as well, like they were outlawed even in the Empire.
Yeah.
At least in the old lore, if I remember. They are like the most deadliest assassin droids money can buy. Like they give HK-47 a run for his money.
Who needs Dark Troopers when you can get some of these things? Because IG-11 on that speed bike and he just went in and busted people up. Bloody heck. He was like the MVP
He's
of
not
that
even
finale.
Good, he's not even the best one. It was IG-88 who was the real, like, dangerous one.
So I'd be investing my money in IG droids. Be like, yo, go give some rebel scum the good news or the Empire. That'd be, if I was Gideon, I'd be like, yo, we got toasted by an IG-11 droid. I'm gonna build some of those bad boys. But otherwise, that was my main issues with the finale. The potential was there, they just squandered it, and I have to assess whether my own feelings of what I wanted get in the way of what they delivered. And looking at what they delivered, I just think they did it very sloppily. They could have done it much better. They could have fleshed it out. Just felt like chucked together. It's like, here's a remix of the best bits of The Mandalorian. And we're hitting a big reset button as well, so that we can get back to Mando Season 1 where it's just hunting people down.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't hate it. I didn't hate the episode. But I do have that feeling. It's like you set up something really dark the previous episode, and this episode, it's squandered. It's utterly squandered. I'm with you on that as well. It's like, don't name drop a character for another if he's not even gonna show his face, or he's not gonna like make his presence known in the slightest.
You could have just moved that Shadow Council scene to this one. Not even to Ahsoka, but to this episode where the Mandalorians have breached his base and were like, you failed us, Gideon, you've done your own here, and Thrawn won't be happy to hear about this, clean up your mess. It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly,
that's a name call. But someone's in charge.
Yeah.
It's making Gideon sweat because he's like, I've got to fucking clean this shit up. Because it's going disastrously.
Yeah, much better. That's a much better way of doing it. This is the thing I think I think what we're both getting at is just with a little bit more thought, you could have something good.
But just think about this. We all have questions where the Imperial Army have gone. Like, because there's a fleet of TIE fighters wrecking that Star Cruiser. Imagine if Gideon's having a scene where he's saying to all the boys, I need your help. Like, they're coming for me. I need more reinforcements. And What if Thrawn just has his equivalent of Order 66, where the Imperial troops are just like, we're gone. Like, you're on your own, Gideon. Like, I'm off.
That would have been so much. That would have been so satisfying.
Because it's like, Gideon's like, I've got all these plans, and he's just been kind of one-upped because their loyalty is ultimately not to Gideon, it's to the Empire and Thrawn, and they're like, we're off, our ships are returning. And Gideon could either be petty in his death or whatever and be like, he's coming for you all.
Yeah.
And he's like, is his one last fuck you to the Empire. This he's coming for you all.
Speaking of his death, Tom, do you think that I can't pronounce his name and I don't want to butcher it, but you know the actor who plays Gideon, do you think he has it written into his contracts that he needs to like hold his arms open and be blown up in a fireball?
So
that's how he's got to go out in the shows that he's in, because that's 2 now. That's this show and Breaking Bad.
Have you seen the remixes of people replacing the guy in the wheelchair of the bell with Grogu doing the...
No.
It's no. And it's so yeah, I
need to watch that. I need to
What?
I need to see
What
that.
did you think of them just crushing the Darksaber?
I don't know. I'm very mixed on that. I think in some ways it's supposed to be about symbolism, but it's so like cliche, isn't it? It's basically about you can't put stock in these old ideas. We need to find a new way.
Do you know what would have been stronger? If
Bodine.
No. If bo-katan, they light the furnaces on Mandalore, and she casts the Darksaber into it, and she says, we're stronger together.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, getting rid of the old, this is a new start for us. And
yeah, I would agree. I know the symbolism. That was the symbolism of the Darksaber being destroyed. Like, it brings nothing but misery and it's cursed, and the Mandalorians don't need a stupid blade to unify, and it was just so cliche. But yeah, I don't hate the idea that it's gone as well. Like, I kind of like the fact it's gone. It's another bloody Filoni creation that I don't think he ever wanted to let go of.
Well, I don't mind that it's gone. It's just the way it was disposed of, because it just seems so weak for her hand to just get crushed and the Darksaber breaks. Like, her hand's perfectly fine apparently, but that Darksaber is just a bit weak.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a very ancient weapon, isn't it? There's some significance to that thing being destroyed. It should, like I say, Star Wars isn't Game of Thrones. You can give characters their due, and you can give things their due when they are destroyed or killed. You can have them going out with like some heroism. It's not Westeros. It's not true to life where characters can die randomly and consequences, actions have consequences and stuff. It's not like that. This is Star Wars. Moments can have that sort of cheesy, like, heroism.
I just think moving it from Gideon, crushing the Darksaber, to Bo willingly giving it up and throwing it into the furnaces of Mandalore is like a sign of the old ways are going, but we're stronger together. Like, I like that message where she says we're stronger together. It's like,
exactly.
Okay, that shows that she's learning from, like, okay, she willingly gave up that Darksaber.
Yeah, that's what I mean. With Gideon destroying it, it's not a choice. It's like, no, you've had it taken from you.
It's like, again, like,
again.
Gideon's just the ultimate owner of the Darksaber, isn't he? It's like, he can't hurt me with this stupid fucking armor, man. I like how she just kept hitting him on the armor plates, because there's gaps in his armor, obviously. I was like, go for the gaps, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to give most shows like that a little bit of leeway. Like, you kind of get that in like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and stuff. it's very rare that you see, like, I mean, I've done HEMA and Kenjutsu and a little bit of MMA and stuff, like, you kind of just see that in fiction in general. It's very rare you get something where you get a really sort of solid depiction of what it's really like, and like, yeah, you are right though. It's like when you've got gaps like that, you go for the bloody gaps.
It wouldn't be a problem if we hadn't seen previous episodes where they're shooting under the helmet specifically to bypass the gaps.
Yeah. So they know what to do.
It's like, we have to shoot under the helmets or into like the gaps in the armor. Bow of the Darksaber. I'm just gonna keep hitting you on your chest plate until you die. It's like, it's not fucking working. Chop off a knee or a leg, you'll get there faster. Because we've seen how good she is with the Darksaber. And we've seen how not great Gideon is. Because yes, his suit makes him a bit more powerful and faster, but when it comes to using a blade, Mando handled him pretty well in the season 2 finale.
Yeah, that's something that's what I mean. Like, this is why Gideon's just been ruined for me. Is this super cartoonish villain now? Like, Gideon's threat never came from his ability to fight. It was his knowledge and his planning, and he had none of that this episode. He's a super villain, like proper cheesy naff super villain, just laughing and explaining his plan to like, what, you can't get more cliche and cheesy than that, can you? Like, just standing here telling you what the clones were, telling the Mando what the clones are. Like typical supervillain telling the hero his evil plan. But the thing was, it was like it had already been stopped as well. So why did he need to stand there and tell him what the plan was? It's like, it's ruined anyway. It really doesn't matter anymore.
If they were that important, you should have been guarding them. Like, he went
No,
the
I agree with
direction.
you. I think it would have been much better.
I
think it would have been much better to have them fight and the tanks get destroyed as they're fighting. And maybe even, this is what I mean, you can have that clever environmental storytelling and Din using his head. Like, oh, if I destroy these tanks, it annoys him and it enrages him, and I can use that to lure him away.
The ultimate video game.
You know. Well, if you're gonna use those mechanics, if you're gonna have them in the show, have them in a way that, like, at least makes sense.
They could have just restructured it, because it just feels a bit silly when the Praetorian Guards just come out of smoke. It's like Gideon's just standing there, but the Praetorian Guards have just been waiting for 30 minutes for Mando to get here so they could have that epic entrance out of the smoke. The music cue is like, doors are doors. Okay then.
I hate the fact that they appeared. I don't like them whatsoever. Like, I hated them in The Last Jedi. I hate them here. They just seem pointless.
Just utilize them better. When they took down Vizsla, it was okay. If these guys mean business, they did some work in the finale, but the weapons just didn't seem to work as well. I don't know how their weapons work. Because
because it went straight through Vizsla's, like, Beskar. I know Vizsla's Beskar won't be like pure Beskar like Mando's is, because they're all alloys, aren't they? If I remember from, like, season 1. But Mando was just able to, like, casually grab them.
I was so confused how these things were supposed to work, because I thought they was penetrating the armor last week, so you don't want to grab those. Anyway, made up fantasy world. Is there anything else you didn't like?
Hated how the Mythosaur was, like, just one big tease.
Oh, mate. I was like, I can't believe Liam was fucking right about this. Fuck off. Fuck off.
Grogu waking it up?
Grogu waking it up, but, like, them not dealing with the Mythosaur this season, it's like, I was like, they take back Mandalorian in the middle of the season, and they deal with the Mythosaur at the end, job done, like, that's a full satisfying season. I was like, nope.
No. Yeah, I didn't like how it was just a great big tease. Like, even if it had just come out of the water, that would have been quite satisfying.
Just
let them see
they don't know how to handle emotion. Because
No.
Vizsla dies, and at the end of the episode, they're so concerned about, oh, we're gonna do structure, we're gonna bookmark it. Like, we opened up the season with this same kid being baptized. We're gonna close the season with this kid being baptized. We know this kid is Vizsla's son. Like,
Yeah.
could we not add a connection here? Because he just seems to be
no,
blah blah blah.
Yeah, there's no sort of funeral. Even a line from the armorer saying, like, your father would have been proud.
Yeah.
Just something like that. I would agree with you, actually. And I think this is something that's like seriously missing from this just season as a whole, that the other 2 seasons kind of had, was just emotional connection.
She could say, like, you're now the head of Clan Vizsla.
Yeah.
Something like that. Just do something, acknowledge it. Because if we removed Vizsla's death last week, nothing's changed. Nobody cares.
No, and that's my point. There's no sacrifice. There's no mourning of the dead after this battle. It's just, we won. We're awesome.
Put the bodies into the waters of Mandalore. Like, let them be buried there. Show us how you bury these people. Like,
they were happy to show us how they bloody eat, which is stupid.
Have just some emotional resonance and add something to it. Otherwise, it's like, look, remember how we did this? It's like, except there's no monster popping out of the water this time. Because I honestly thought the Mythsaur was going to eat the kid then. I was like, oh wow, they really did want to set that up. This season, mate. With just Mando falling into the fucking waters. You just can't make this shit up. Do you want to get onto the ratings? Because in terms of where we think it's going, I'm not sure we can even discuss much about it.
Well, for me, like, in terms of where it's going, I'm super unhappy that it's going anywhere, because we know it's going somewhere. That's the thing. I'm super unhappy about it. For me, like I said earlier in the podcast, this really reminded me of the Return of the King. The ending is final. Yeah. It's wholesome and it's final. And I hate the fact that we're gonna get dragged into like Ahsoka's stuff in that movie. So yeah, just for me, where it's going, I don't want it to go anywhere. We know it's going to the sequel trilogy. It ends here. This is the end of Mando for me. Ratings wise, I'm really bipolar, because there's parts of my brain that's like, oh, it's a quite a solid 9 as the episode of The Mandalorian, and then there's parts of my brain that are like, well, it's too messy, and it's not like my benchmark for a 9 has always been a 9 or a 10 has always been the last episode of season 2 and the Crate Dragon episode, a bit like yours, and this is not that, not even close. It's far too all over the place. It does some things really well, and it does some things really naff.
Well, our audience, because I put up a poll, 20% of the audience think it's a 9 or 10. 47% of the audience think it's a 7 to an 8. 15, 5 to 6. And 18, 3 to 4. I would say, judging off last week's, I don't think this is a stronger episode. No. I think it's far too sloppily constructed, and just not as satisfying. Because Gideon's death was so anticlimactic.
Yeah, it really was as well. Like, it was typical supervillain death.
I mean,
dying in a fireball.
They should be thankful. They should be thankful that Axe doesn't know he killed Gideon, because he'd be like, "Where's my fucking Darksaber?" It's like I'm a rightful owner of Darksaber here, because, Bo, you're just getting your ass kicked by this guy. Oh, I'm a Darksaber there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, like, Gideon's death needed to be a little bit more nuanced. Like, he needed to get stabbed, and then he needed to get his last few words in, I think, for it to be satisfying. You needed that. I know that's still a cliche villain death, but I think it's better than him just getting consumed by fire.
Man didn't even want to jetpack his way out of it.
Yeah. Exactly. He needed that. I do. I think he needed that. You know, like his last few words are like, "You have no idea who's coming for you," and you know, that sort of death. But yeah, as a rating, I probably going to annoy people with this, but I think let's smack it bang in the middle with a 5.
5 out of 10.
Yeah, because it doesn't do enough right to overcome its wrong, but it's also not so bad that I didn't enjoy it. It's just like you say, I just notice things and it's cheesy and contrived and sloppily written, but it's still fun. It's still a fun episode to watch. It's kind of that's the best comparison I can give it, is what I said earlier about Jar Jar. It's like you kind of got to switch your brain off to enjoy it, but you can enjoy it. That's the